delighted to say I'm still in Ipswich, the fine county of Suffolk. I've now finally, after, crikey, 8-10 years, been able to get through the front doors of TRU7 GROUP. I'm here, delighted to be here with Guy Nicholls. Guy, good afternoon.
Afternoon, lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too, Guy. Thanks for taking the time to see us
No,
today.
not at all. It's a shame it's taken so long to put it together.
Hey, it happens, and you were busy today. We were with Kikurek. On a day-to-day basis, this is very recent. This was announced in the news yesterday. I've read that myself. Again, the rises. How has this affected you over the last 3 months, and how will this continue
it's
to affect
been, you know, everything was going along great post-COVID, as we were then talking about how construction carried working. We closed for 3.5 weeks, so I was really breaking it that one of our drivers would take it home and kill somebody. Nobody knew what we'd got at the time, of course. Then once they agreed that builders merchants weren't retailers and they could open, they just took off, and we were all made busy. It was just, that's the whole industry was. It was fantastic. Perhaps too busy in some ways. The machine drivers were they were almost the tail wagging the dog, which I won't have in this business, but almost that. But we're all very busy, and we all got geared up. You know, everything's been growing. Our business has grown 40% year on year for about the last 4 years. And then this year, the bank rate has just killed the house and stone dead, and we're just okay. You know, the problem I have, I only work at 1 speed, and that's flat out. And working at half speed, I really struggle to get motivated with it all. But we're still very busy as a company, but we missed the last 5-7%, which is the margin.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned this margin. You've pushed out into other industries. 6 years ago, you went into demolition. You acquired Clark Demolition, of course.
Yep.
How's that side of it? That would be new for you, presumably.
It's funny because I grew up with there was 3 Clark brothers. I went to school with 2 of them, and I grew up with them. My father was friendly with Mr. Clark Senior, who started in 1953.
Wow.
And they got in a pickle a few times, and I lent them money, and in the end I thought, it, next time they're getting a pickle, I'm going to buy it. So we did, and I'm glad we did. And David Clark, who was a former owner of the business, still with us as Ben's director of that, he's a really good guy, a very smart, dapper little chap who can go and have a meeting at the highest level. The only problem was when we bought it, he couldn't spell profit, so we had to,
oh dear, right.
A little bit of special treatment, but no, it's been great having it as part of what we do. It fits in with our recycling business,
exactly.
Business. We now own all the equipment, or bought new fleet equipment. We rent it to, and we rent all our ancillary companies rent from TRU7 Rental, and that seems the best way of keeping control of costs.
We of course hear from both magazines, both our plant magazine, Diggers Live, and of course Demolition Hub. We're alluding on Clark Demolition. What products do you have? Are they just in Suffolk area, or you nationwide?
No, we've had a bit of a serious discussion about this morning because they're on some of the most fantastic tender lists. Another friend of mine's a big demolition company, Demolition from South Essex.
That's right.
And he says, well, I'd kill to be on those tender lists. They famous for putting bridges down. They do a lot of work for London Transport and Crossrail and all these other great things, but they just need to look a little bit further. I think they just got into a bit of a rut. So we've had a heated debate about it only this morning. So they've all had a little reboot and a kick up the arse, and
doesn't hurt.
No, we all need it now and again. I get off my wife quite regularly actually, and I think actually, if anything, the year been a little bit quieter for us has actually given us my son's in the business with me now. Very big part of Jake. Yeah.
Really he looks after the earthwork side.
Yeah, he's now gradually getting all of it now because obviously I'm not going to live forever, and he won't want me to, I'm sure. But it's going to be his when I peg out. So he's got to learn. He's got to wear many hats.
Well, you mentioned Jake. I think if we take this back a bit, this really is a story of 3 generations.
Yes.
This is your father, Percy, of course.
Yep.
Percy, 1964, I believe, started out of the business.
That's right.
Cashed in his pension, cashed in his premium bonds.
£1,000
worth of premium bonds.
Well done.
Yeah, well, hey, we got it. Cashed in his premium bonds, started up, and obviously you as a nipper, you were following him about. Tell me about those days.
It's a funny thing because he was a wheeler and dealer. He would be buying trucks
from the area, local area, Suffolk.
You guys, actually, his family were from Yarmouth originally, in Norfolk.
Okay.
Then moved to Yoxford anyway. After the war, there was 13 brothers and sisters, and my grandfather was buying farms for next to nothing and putting like the oldest son of that and 2 younger ones, or oldest daughter. And my father lived on a farm with his older brother and sister, and that when he was about 13 or 14, that's how it was. He used to go and do some work, and that's how it was. It's not like it still today, I hasten to add, but anyway, it isn't. For better or worse, I don't know. Probably worse. But you had to work, and I was quite the same. I always remember Mum saying we've got to take these kids on holidays. No. He said, holidays are things other people have.
Gosh,
And that's a
right.
true story.
Yeah,
We had
wow.
one family holiday, which I have to say, I've taken that from him. My poor wife hardly ever go away with that. I'm changed a little bit now. I'm 60.
Julie, your wife?
Julie, yeah. Or I'll go suffer for 44 years. But we're still happily married.
Good to hear.
And I love business. The problem, it's a strange thing. When we closed the business for 3.5 weeks because of COVID, I was dreading it, somebody taking it home. Then I thought I was going to lose my shirt, lose my business.
Yeah.
And when we sold Fort Rent 7.5 years ago, I invested the money with UBS. And 2 weeks after being at home, you get a call, oh, your investments have dropped over a third. Do you want to sell everything? No, I don't. We want to be buying, not selling it. There's too much work onto this. And my wife said to me, you'll be 57 next month. Don't you think it's time you start taking it easy and get some money out of the tin? Let's go and buy a house on Lake Como. Well, after being at home for 3.5 weeks and then come back to work, one thing became very apparent very quickly. I will never retire because this is like a drug to me. I love it.
Absolutely.
And then going to Lake Como late that summer when we were allowed to travel, what you buy for 5 million quid's not worth buying anyway. So both things, we're back to normal service, which is doing very quickly. Jake's here now, so that's great. I've got a great right-hand man in Tony Marshall. He's worked with me now for 24 years. He's like how my brother should have been. So Tony's been like, well, literally until Jake came along, the brother should have. And Jake's here.
Well, that was a story, getting Jake involved, wasn't it? He
Yeah.
went off to do his motocross in America.
He did the World Championship for 11 years as a professional, went around the world 11 times doing that. And then there was never any sign of him come to work. That's why we sold Fort Rent. He wouldn't even come in the yard.
Gosh.
But then all of a sudden had a bad injury in Italy, and then a week later announced he would love to come to work if that was all right with me.
Yeah, some sort of epiphany. What do you think? He attributes it to an accident, doesn't he? I've read something.
He dislocated it quite badly. He got over it, but nevertheless, at the time he just thought, I've had enough of this now. And that was just one of those transitional moments in life, I guess, for him. And I think he likes it even more than I do.
Is it a similar symbiotic relationship that you had with your father?
No, very different.
Okay.
I was with my dad every day after school when I was old enough to just about remember. I suppose it was shortly after nappies. And he always had new Merc cars. The one thing he did spend a few quid on was a nice car. I've got a similar tray. I love cars. But I'd get so grubby around, I used to sit in the boot to go home. And
So was my dad, yeah.
My mother used to go, man, how do you manage to get in this grubby? I didn't get this grubby. It's him poking about. Anyway, that was that. And I had every school holiday with him, apart from one when I was 14, which he reminded me of the day before he died. Which ironically was one of the Clark brothers of the Demolition family. And it was great drinking beer for the first time. And whatever else you do when you're a young teenager, I won't go into detail. But,
We've all been there.
I think we've all been there. And he generally reminded that day before he died. So I'd obviously played in his mind for years. But no, I absolutely love it. And we used to shout and argue all day long. He'd phone up after tea at night, have another argument and tell me where I'd gone wrong all day. But the relationship I have with Jake is very different. We've never had an argument since he came to work.
Wow.
And yet, with Dad, it was whatever I did was never any good or good enough. That's his way of making me try harder. And I just go, well, I'll prove you wrong, you old bastard.
Yeah.
So it worked.
But you've got that mantra now. If someone doubts you could go into that industry.
Well, he got in a plant hire by accident. And ironically, with the Clark name crops up yet again, Arthur Clark had a plant hire business, the former owner of Clark Demolition, the father, or the founder. And the father was a wheeler dealer, buying lorries and plant and bought all this stuff. And phoned Arthur Clark, we agreed the price for. And Arthur Clark said, oh, he said, can't I piss you about now? You're out your depth for that lot. And my father's immediate response was, Arthur, you've just put me in the hire business. And that's a true story.
Wow.
And everything we've ever done, everything we've ever tried to plan has been absolutely bought up. We've got the tippers by accident because they're local company aggravators. We've got the concrete because another local concrete / aggregate supplier aggravators again. And that's how we've always gone. I think if I'm put out, that's when I'm at all worse.
Me too.
And I'm not a violent person, but I'm my most dangerous in business when someone pisses me off. And I don't wish to sound like a godfather or a hero or anything like that at all. I'm just a fat bloke of Ipswich. But fortunately, sales and find a job you love and never work. I've never worked a day in my life.
You're very hands-on. You're here every day.
I love it. I don't get here very early in the morning. There's one thing, my wife and I have got opposite time clocks. I could be up all night watching TV, but she'll be up at 5 o'clock every morning. My dad made me go to work at 6:30. I never liked it. So 5 or 6 years after he died, as the business got bigger and bigger, and it grew quite big quite quickly, because he didn't like employing people, which is fine, but you restrict how big you can, how much you can grow a business from that, obviously. But I don't get into 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm awake at 5:30 and I'm doing emails at 6:30. I'm talking to people 7 o'clock in the morning on the phone. But I'm just physically not here. But I'm like upright still. I never close. I'm here 24/7, and that'll always be like that.
So going back to when you did kick it off, unfortunately your father died. Yourself and your sister Trudy, I believe, took over Fort Brent. Which was your father set up in the 70s, 77. You took it over, and you then sold that prior to what has become TRU7, and we'll talk about the number 7 in a minute, actually, because I've read up something on you about that number. It's the 6th today, by the way. Presumably tomorrow we wouldn't have been able to do this. It's a very lucky number for you. Superstitious, or
no? It's my father's lucky number.
There you go.
And he was very superstitious, and all the vehicles he ever bought, like I say, always had new Mercedes cars. My mum didn't. When Mercedes cars were rare, I mean, with respect to people who drive Mercedes, they're like Fords. There's loads of them now, and we'd been buying new trucks or whatever it was, or vans to rent out. And always make sure and tell the dealer, make sure that number plate doesn't add up to 13. And he'd make it so clear to them. And the amount of time people delivered a vehicle, the first thing, old-fashioned number plates, when it used to be up to 3 digits. What did I tell you about a number plate? It's up to 13. and whatever it was, he wouldn't have it.
Brilliant.
And his lucky number was 7, so that's why it's called TRU7. Trucks are us. And
I knew I'd get the story out of you.
And that's exactly why. And I think, has it been my lucky number? I don't know if I've had a lucky number, really. I keep looking for 6 lucky numbers on a Friday night, but I've never seen it before.
You and me both.
Yeah,
absolutely. Quite agree.
Even when things are off, and like I said earlier, I've only got 1 speed, but even when things are a bit flat, this way I've been a bit of a miserable bastard, because I do like being flat. That's not even, do you know what? That's not even about the money. I have a living wage that pays my household bills every month. Everything else gets reinvested
into the business.
That's not even about the money. It's the money, of course, but so we buy more kit, buy more trucks.
Well, I've just seen the brand new Volvo dumpers over there. Very impressive too. An awful lot of weight dumpers as well.
Yeah, well, we're trying to. We've got the youngest fleet in the UK, and I'm bold enough to say that. And if anybody wants to challenge me, they're more than welcome to at any time. Our oldest 8-wheel tip was a 22 plate. Our oldest mixer, and its first test today is already sold and been replaced. I think we've now done some 21. No, we've got a few odd 20 plate diggers left because of supply chain issues. Now that's how funny things change. New diggers are a penny a dozen at the moment. And the manufacturer have been very, very greedy with price increases. We'll see where that one goes over the next few months. I think we're in for some big decreases. I think there needs to be, because they've got very greedy. And it's certain manufacturers also treated us very badly last year. I won't name names, but some of them were very, very arrogant.
And you don't forget, presumably?
No, we still buy certain bits of them, but as I pointed out to them, now it's on our terms now. Ignore what I buy off you. Funny old year for everybody, I think, not just us.
Hasn't it just?
Yeah, and I think unfortunately there's going to be some contractors who won't see the end of the year, who are unfortunately victims of circumstances, and by circumstances I mean how materials have risen. Cement went up 19, 20 quid a tonne again 1st of March. All the eggs went up £1, £2 a tonne. And if they're on fixed price things for building for house builders, they're going to suffer, unfortunately.
Now, I don't know if you remember this guy. A couple of years ago, maybe even last year, but it was a few years ago, I invited you to the British Demolition Awards. Can you remember your reply to me?
Yeah, well, would I want to be in a room with 300 people who are going to tell me a load of lies because how's somebody in the same industry going to help me?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like my worst nightmare, Ben.
And that sounds really arrogant, but we're very fortunate. We've got some lovely friends in Demolition. We rent equipment to and sell stuff to.
That's great.
But as far as demolition contracting, you can't be friends with you.
No.
When we were in plant hire before, and still to this day, I had 2 friends in plant hire. John Newton, KPH plant hire in Leeds, and Chris Bond from WH Bond in Cornwall. Those are quite a nice distance, about 300 and 270 mile apart. It's absolutely marvellous. I don't want any friends in this industry because it's an aggressive industry, and if it's a job to have, well, how can you be friends with somebody you had dinner with last night? A friend of mine owns probably the largest privately owned haulage company in the country, Maritime Transport, John Williams, and we were at a Boxing Day lunch, mutual friends. He said, "How do you get on with your competitors?" I said, "Well, I don't get on my competitors, do I?" I said, "John, my father used to go to a dinner dance at the best hotel in Felixstowe. They used to have this flash day. Everybody had the same table. If you didn't turn up, you lost your table, it'd be a year wait. They'd all be, he said, what a load of wankers they are. They're all buying each other champagne, dancing with each other's wives, and on Monday they're all stabbing each other in the back.
No, it's
And
nonsense.
I don't think perhaps I'm just too
How does
stupid.
that affect you with associations? Because, of course, one of your brands is under the NFDC.
Oh, well, David Clark, he fronts up, he goes to them.
You don't.
He
You
was chairman or president or whatever it was one year, and he loves it. So that's fine.
I don't know David, actually. We've never crossed
He's a
paths.
lovely
David, or not.
guy, very smart, dapper little man, a little chap, a really good guy, but very experienced, but not too good on the business side of things. Anyway, as we said, we've dealt with that one.
What is the future? When I say future, next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What's the plan for TRU7 GROUP and indeed Guy Nicholls?
Well, I'll put that back to you. Tell me what the bank will be next year. Not doing the business with
Very good.
Is the true answer to that. No Jake is he's only 33 years old, and I actually think he's even not hungry. That's the wrong word. It sounds. I think he's even keener than I am, dare I say.
Oh,
He's
wonderful.
unbelievable. When I die, I own every share in the business. He'll have every share, and I was loving with a brother and a sister. Not loving with my sister, I shouldn't say that, but with a useless brother who had a third of everything until we bought him out. I wouldn't put Jake's got a sister. I wouldn't put him through that. So the business we left 100% to him, and I actually went at a load of aggro the other way. I said, "Do you know what you want to do? The day I pay out, you want to sell that bastard." He's right, sell it. I fucking love it. And so it won't stop. And he's not about money. He doesn't even like cars. He's got a Porsche GT3 RS, which he only drives on the track.
Yeah.
That's parked in my shed at home. The rest of the time, he drove. Up until recently, he drove a 30-year-old Toyota pickup, which I had to stop him because he's got no Bluetooth, and there's a chance he's going to lose his license, or worse still, crash into somebody, which would be the right thing. So he rides around in a Discovery commercial, and that's it.
Hey,
I can live the rest of my life. I live 3 miles, and that'd suit me if I never went any further than that 3 miles. That's a force to work, which is why you don't see me at any events, because I just like being here.
that was my next question to you. Plant Works, Hillhead, all these events.
Listen, I'm not decrying. People go, well, we've just had our local county show last week, so I know even the small way the effort that goes
You
in.
sponsored it, you know?
Yeah, and put a stand and all that goes with it. So it'd be very arrogant of me to sit and say it's a waste of time.
More for the community, that way.
Manufacturers. It's nice to meet people, and whether or not I'll go there for half a day this year, I don't know. It's not because I think I'm the big I am. I just don't like being away from this office. When we had this place built, I had a fantastic office built upstairs. Always had shit offices and that before, a crap old yard, which my dad bought when I was 10 years old. Now it's going to be temporary, and I was still in there up to 7 years ago. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm not knocking him for that. He's a hard working old boy, and he always did his very best.
But you've got the office you wanted.
Oh, I had a fantastic office built upstairs here. I had a lovely model display cabinet built, and all this, that, and the other. Beautiful handmade furniture for it. Office desk. I sat there for about an hour. I thought, what the bloody hell am I sitting up here for? I'm not going to see or hear anything. So now this was just going to be a little meeting room. Normally I'm sitting with the door open so I can hear what's going on, see what's going on, and I'm up on my feet and
Same as me.
try and get involved in any issues that unfortunately come, and they do every day in this business, as sure as everybody else's. Aggravation seems to have found us somehow. I don't know, but I'm sure it's the same for everybody. Everyday challenges,
Absolutely.
and I guess that's what life's all about. But I love the construction industry. Just had lunch with a company called Brahini's. My father was very friendly with Jack Brahini, and ironically, that's their 60th year this year. Oh, great business, great local business, good, solid people. We meet up probably a couple of times a year and have lunch. John Brahini and I, and two of his directors. Really, really nice people. Just similar mind, really, want to do some work and get on with it. Unfortunately, I think with the media is now, and I'm definitely one, and you look at the news and think everybody's an arsehole. It's not the case. There's still some really good people there, and I met some great people for this job.
You'll be both. That's good to hear.
Ben, there's something I forgot actually. I'm being very arrogant. I haven't mentioned our team of staff, and we've got 350 people thereabouts. But then there's all sorts of people. There's some that just come to work. There's a high percentage who actually come and work for the business. And I always call it, of the old filmers that meet the parents, the circle of trust. And we've got a great team of people in that circle of trust. And people who drive trucks and machines, they're all important to us. So I thought I'd just mention that.
Oh, hey, very important. The guy looks after his staff. 350 now. This has been built up TRU7 GROUP over the past, crikey. How many years now? Since 97?
7 years, I think it is.
Wow, superb. Finally, before we close off, we've heard a lot about the business. So I think actually people can get a good idea about who Guy is from this particular interview. I certainly have. I certainly have. And it's been a blast, really has, genuinely. But tell me about Guy. What's your thing? You love cars. We know you love cars. I've seen you in the desert last year. You know, camped out, meals after. But what's your thing? What drives you?
Do you know what? I still get excited seeing a new lorry come down the drive, or a new digger.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I was a kid, my dad had his first forklift, and I went out on hire to a sheet metal fabricator that came out after a month, and they looked like I was 10 years old, and he actually cried. But you just become hardened to the damage. You know, we employ 350 people now, so we damage our own gear every day, let alone a third parties do it. But I just love it. Can't get enough of it.
It still comes back to
Oh
work.
no! I get home
still...
still on my iPad. I'm like a child, or a 6-year-old child, either looking at cars or diggers or lorries. I think I must be a bit mad actually. I'm fairly certain. I did say to my wife a couple of months ago, I'm thinking of retiring. She just looked at me. Not. So I guess I'll have to work forever. Excuse my French, but yeah, I suppose that's what it is now. I love it, absolutely love it. And I think you get the most out of things if you like. The only thing, like I said earlier, I'm struggling with at the moment is we're just missing that last little bit, and I'm struggling with that. I like it flat out, absolutely full gas. But it's what it is. Another year, we've had bad years before, years that are not so good. And sometimes I think some years we've prospered through recessions. I'm not saying we're in a recession, but the bank race certainly killed house builders stone dead. Absolutely stone dead. And I don't know what they can do to revive it, but they need to sharpish. Not for us, but for people in general. If they want to
buy a house, impossible. Yeah. With these 100% mortgages, nonsense, and you know.
I saw news the other night. This young couple, they've got a 35-year mortgage.
I saw that yesterday.
I don't know what they put down, but I was talking to a young chap who worked for us. He came out for a drink the other night with his father, I'm very friendly with, and his girlfriend, a very bright young girl, got a good job in recruitment. I said, without being funny, how much you got to find to put down a house? Say 40 grand. How did 21-year-old, 22-year-old people come up with 40 grand?
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be hard for
That
them.
is, isn't it?
Then you rent, then so you part with all your money every month. You can't save. I don't know.
The renting model was bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the government can have to do something to help young people. And they, you know.
But you talk about helping people. You're involved in a lot of charities.
Yeah.
I've sat in reception. I've been on your website. There's a lot of charities you're involved in. Is that important to you?
Yeah, but it makes it look like we're angels. We're certain age. We're hard-nosed business people. But my father was always of a mind. You know, we're not oil barons or film stars, but we've done all right. You've got to give some back. And I'm very much like my father in most ways, not in every way. And we do it every year. We normally give 100, 200 grand a year away for charitable causes. We try to do it on a more localised basis. In the last few years, I've had pretty poor luck with national charities. Don't seem to be too many people on the gravy train for my liking. So now, a friend of mine who's running this big local charity has just retired or had enough. She's the same age as me and she's had enough of it. So now we're just going to pick on individual things to do, like we can have a BMX track built for the area we live in, Kesgrave, just outside Ipswich. Once they get planning permission from their own council to build one, of course, which will probably take 3 years, and we're going to pay to have a BMX track built.
Wow.
Yeah, you got it.
It doesn't hurt, does it?
No,
it really doesn't hurt.
Good for the soul.
Exactly.
Good
that.
for the soul.
Helps you close those eyes at night sometimes.
Yes, it does. And surprising how little helps some people so much. Really is. Yeah. And I'm not being arrogant about that, far from that.
No. Guy, I've had a wonderful opportunity to have a chat with you today. I really appreciate your time, and let's go stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Guy.
Sorry,
really appreciate it. Hey, we got there in the end.